Today's episode is sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and NC Football Connections. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Offseason 365 podcast. Be sure to follow us on X and Facebook, but also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify channel, and now Apple Podcast channel. Our ultimate goal here is to connect with as many coaches as possible, but not just here in North Carolina, but across the country. Today, we have a special guest. We have Coach Ja-Vontae Bryant. He's located in the Triad, Burlington area. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm well, man. Thank you for making time to hop on. We've been trying to connect for a little bit of time for the past 2 weeks. Schedules have been a little bit crazy. And luckily you're on your spring break. So today we get a chance to catch you before you dive headfirst into your spring break, man. So appreciate you for making time.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right, man. So before we get to climbing the coaching ladder we have a special edition today. We're going to be touching on coaches climbing from the middle school level to the high school level. But before we get to that, give our listeners a quick snapshot of your journey up until this point.
A lot of people don't know I'm a graduate of Union High School.
Hey, Sampson County, let's get it.
Sir.
Let's go.
Clinton, North Carolina, born and raised. I graduated from North Carolina A&T with a bachelor's in sports science and fitness management.
Nice.
I concentrated in parks and recreation. I like coaching kids, and that's kind of how I got that itch to start coaching. So that the summer I graduated, started filling out some coaching jobs, and I ended up getting an interview for a middle school. I didn't get the job, but the athletic director said, "Hey, I would like for you to be an assistant and learn under a guy." And that guy, he had coached at the high school level for around 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Decided to come down to the middle school level and coach. And I coached there for 1 year, which was Orange Middle School located in Hillsborough, North Carolina.
Nice.
And after that year, I went next door to the high school, over Orange High School, and I moved over with the 8th grade class. And I got my first coordinator position there. I coached the corners and safeties, and I was the JV defense coordinator for a year. My head coach decided to leave, so he was like, "Hey, you can come over with me." So we ended up going over to Western Alamance, and I also was I was a safeties coach because we had a corners coach, and I was also the JV defense coordinator over there also. And so that's my career so far in regards to coaching.
Excellent, man. And it sounds to me like you've had a chance to work with a lot of people, a lot of young people. But for those who don't know, man, Coach and I, we're from the same area. The Sampson County, Duplin County area, right? And it's always pretty cool to cross paths with people from back at home, man. Matter of fact, I was just down there earlier today. I had a chance to go to East Duplin. Two athletes that I worked with, they had a chance to sign letters of intent to play college ball. So I just got back home, man. But I've been on the road all day, and thank you for sharing your information, man. So
yes, sir.
So yeah, man. So before we get to today's featured topic, you had a chance to also attend the first annual Tatum coaching clinic located in Walkertown, North Carolina. Like you, I was mingling and talking and learning a little bit of ball. But overall, what was your experience like? Like what were you able to gather from attending this local clinic?
I learned that most places deal with the same things we deal with. Like listening to Coach Caldwell, he coached at a smaller school down in South Carolina, and I coached at a 5A school up in North Carolina. And some of the things, such as dealing with kids, that football isn't the number one priority, and just making it as simple as possible for them, so they can just play fast. And then learning from guys such as Coach Bird that's at Huff. Like learning from those guys, like, hey, like, yes, they're a big school and they have like top-notch athletes, but it's all football at the end of the day. That's all it is, man. It's football.
Yeah, and I agree with you as well, man. So my first year coaching, I was a volunteer coach at Hopton High School, and for those who don't know, man, Hopton High School is one of the smallest schools in the state. But that's where I started off at. But since then, I've had a chance to work in some of the biggest schools in North Carolina. And it's funny that you say that, because at the end of the day, man, ball is still ball. And
Mm-hmm.
all programs, believe it or not, talent or no talent, have very similar problems. I got a chance to break bread and catch it with a number of local coaches, regional coaches. Got a chance to observe in some sessions. Got a chance to just catch up and just talk some ball, man. So for any coaches that's listening, if you thinking about launching a clinic, a 1-day clinic, man, make it happen. Make it happen. Don't be afraid to put the thoughts out there, because I'll guarantee you there's gonna be a lot of people that's out there that's probably thinking the same thing you're thinking. So I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and I definitely enjoyed it, man.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So my question is for you, Coach. How did you experience coaching middle school? So how did your experience coaching middle school shape your approach at the high school level?
At the middle school level, at that particular middle school, guys, some of their first times playing football was in 7th grade, because they don't
Mhm.
have parks and recreation in Hillsborough. So
Mhm.
football. So basically starting from ground zero, and
Mhm.
you can't assume anything.
Mhm.
All the guys I coach wide receivers and DBs there, because
Mhm.
there was only 3 of us on the staff. So you
Mhm.
start from ground zero. You don't assume, and you just work the base and the foundations of whatever position that you're coaching. And
Mhm.
you don't move along until they master that base, and
There
then
you
you just keep adding, because you don't want to add too much to the kids' plate when they're just starting out. You just want to keep adding and stacking days, and making sure they're encouraged to keep coming out, because um, a lot of high school programs, they suffer because of the middle school program not keeping the kids and developing them, maybe
Yeah.
running them off. So you got to
Yeah.
keep what you get, and you make sure you develop and harvest those seeds over time.
You brought up a good point, especially about not assuming. I'm the same way, even on the high school level. I don't care how much success the kids had. I'm never going to assume that they know everything.
Hmm.
So I rather spend time reestablishing the fundamentals as opposed to assuming, because like you just said, a lot of times these kids are not thinking about football 24/7. They're thinking about playing the game. They're thinking about watching ESPN. They're thinking about hanging out with friends. Oh, when football comes up, oh, now it's time to think about football. But there's not a lot of kids out there that's just watching it all the time and thinking about it. So that's pretty cool there. You also brought up another good point about not moving on too soon. And as a coordinator, a lot of coordinators get in trouble by installing too much too soon,
Hmm.
because everybody plays slow, and before you know it, the kids are confused. So
Yep.
very good
Agree.
points. Absolutely. So my next question is, how do you bridge the gap between middle school and high school football for your players?
Um, you ask questions about certain, as a defensive back coach, ask questions such as what do their everyday drills look like,
Mhm.
what kind of coverages did they run, to try to pick their brains to see what do they know and
Nice.
what they don't know.
Mm,
So I could like have a matrix that I use and put
mm,
together for my everyday drills and for the coverages. Um, because you don't want to put too much of those freshmen's plate, especially with them getting used to high school, the schedule's going from no summer practice to going to 4 days a week in the morning or in the
Well, that's a
evening.
lot.
It's
That's a
like you
lot.
gotta, yeah, it's a lot for them. And then when they're multi-sport kids, you might not see them but once a week, if that. So you have to tailor and be flexible and for
Mm,
the kids, but bridging that gap, just let them know it's still football. It's gonna be
yeah.
a tad bit faster. For JV, I think it was 10-minute quarter some games, and then for some games it was 12 for the bigger games, which is crazy. But
Yeah, that's a lot.
just
That's a
keeping
long
it
time.
keeping it the same, and it's 100 yards, 53 yards across.
Yeah. So
So
you because yeah, so you have experience in the middle school and the high school. What is the biggest difference in coaching middle school kids versus high school athletes?
in middle school, you really don't have time to adjust because those quarters
Mm.
are 8 minutes. If I can remember, it's eight
Yeah,
minutes,
that sounded about right.
and
Yes.
everybody just wants to run the ball. And by the time you
Mm.
look up, you maybe had 2 possessions and a half. And
Oh
like,
man.
yeah, and whenever you give up a score, that score might be the game winner. And so you have to be mindful of those situations, and keeping it simple for the kids. Really, you don't want to put too much on their plate in middle school, because like they're dealing with a lot, and
Yeah.
just being flexible. and putting kids in the best position to be successful. Not putting them in a box, just letting them be athletes because they're 12, 13, 14. Just letting them be athletes, go out there and play ball, and let the high school coaches put them in a box and let them figure out what positions that they play.
I like that. I like that. That attention to detail. So, how do you continue to develop fundamentals that may not have been mastered at the middle school level?
Everyday drills. My guys know, man, we're gonna do everyday drills every day of the season. Like if we get 5 minutes or 15 minutes, we're gonna get the back pedals, the weaves, the speed turns, the W drills. We're gonna if I got 5 minutes, we're gonna do those. And then if we got more, we're gonna add on. But the as a defensive back, your feet. If you don't have good feet, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
So if you got feet, we can go from there. But just making sure that their feet are good and then working from the ground up.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Especially playing a defensive back, man. All it takes is one false step, and the man is playing.
Yeah, because in middle school, a lot of guys they don't really don't have defensive backs coach, and they're man. They play a lot of man and country cover 3. And like when they play man, it's just like, all right, tag, like that's your guy. Like no, in high school, no man. There's so much to play. Man, you got off man, press man. Like it's so much to it. So much to it. And those middle school guys, there's a big learning curve to playing man in high school ball.
Well, here's the secret. Even on a collegiate level, man, a lot of coaches stay away from that man coverage. I remember like it was yesterday, man. We was getting ready to play NC State years ago, and our defensive backs were arguing with the defense coordinator because they couldn't play man. And he said, all right, man, y'all want to play man? I'm going to let you play man. We stayed in man the whole time, and it didn't turn out good, dog, because wideouts are running past our players and, broken coverages and struggling to tackle, man. But those boys learned their lesson, man. So whatever your coach have you to do, if any athletes listening, whatever your coach asks you to do, you do it. And if you have a question about it, if he gives you the room to ask it, you can, but just do what he asks you to do, dog. Trust me. Absolutely. So what advice would you give middle school coaches to better prepare players for the high school level?
Don't skip steps. Such as tackling. Like football has been under fire the last couple for a while now. Make sure they're tackling correctly. Like the first day of pass, don't lay them down and do the Oklahoma drill.
No, man, no.
Please don't do that. Start from the ground up, work from your feet up, have them on the knee, use all the devices the athletic directors buy, such as the pads, the wheels, and don't just skip steps and assume, man, because I've seen some nasty hits, like when I played, even before I played, and then after, and then like I'm just shaking my head like that could discourage that kid from playing football and coming out next year, and then like going forward, that might affect the high school's numbers. So you don't want to lose a kid from poor coaching by skipping steps, and then they'll get their time for the big hits, but you want to make sure they're tackling right, their head is out of the tackle, and you're just being safe because those are some scary hits, man, and you don't want to be the cause of that by skipping steps.
You brought up a good point about removing the head out of the tackle. Because when I was coming through, that was the only way you made tackles. Get your head into it, bite the ball. And, it's not one particular coach that used to say it, but all coaches at one point in time or another on the defensive side used to say that. Well, to see where the game is now, the game is as safe as it's ever been. You have to pass all these certifications in order to step on the field, the heads up tackling, the vice tackle, and the list goes on and on, near leg, near shoulder. That stuff wasn't around when it was coming through, but it's pretty cool to see the evolution of tackling, and you even see it on Sundays as well. So safety is number one. Safety is the number one priority with coaching, and that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So what is so let's talk about habits. This could be good or bad habit. What are the most common habits players bring from middle school programs? This could be good habits or bad habits.
Some bad habits coming to practice every day and communicating with the coaches. Because things come up through the school
Yes.
day, such as appointments or
Mm-hmm.
one kid might have a band practice or something, an engagement, and just know communicating. Whereas in middle school, if you don't show up, man, some cases I know when I was coaching middle school, we had so many kids. If you weren't a starter, a coach might not notice that you're not there. But in high school, like as a coordinator, you have a depth chart. Like when I call for defense 2 or defense 3, and I see there's 3 DBs out there, and I'm missing a corner. Like, hey, where's so and so? You just learning that communication piece. Like, hey, there's like 6 of us on defense. You can text one of us and say, hey, coach, I'm not going to be here. And just just that big communication piece. Like I said, because once you get to high school, you have to learn how to communicate a lot between your teachers, your parents. That's a lot. You just got to learn how to talk and let people know your situation. Nobody is going to punish you for having an engagement because you're not only a football player, you're a student athlete. And we all know things happen and things come up. Just communicate and be open with us.
Yeah, and that and this is getting you ready. And to add on what Coach just said, this is getting you ready for life beyond the game. Eventually, you have to be a professional, and you will get fired if there's a no call, no show. Like they will fire you for that because they're depending on you to help them run their business. So it all starts with advocating for yourself. Don't ask your parents to do it. You do it yourself, right? Because when push comes to shove, when it's you applying for this job, you're not going to have your parents in there with you then. You're not going to have your teammates in there with you then. It's going to be you and you by yourself. So take ownership of it. So, Coach, before I let you go, what advice would you give a middle school coach who wants to move up to the high school level?
Develop a relationship with the high school staff. That's one thing I did. I think it was a bye week we had for middle school. I went over next door to the high school and I met the head coach and the rest of the staff. And I spent multiple days with them and learned a lot about them. And I didn't even ask to join the staff. The high school coach, he was like, "Hey, if you want to join the staff in the spring, come on, because I would like some help." And from there, that's kind of how it happened. I just wanted to be a bridge initially for the middle school to the high school. I didn't have any thoughts about coaching high school ball, but going over and seeing them practicing, this is just kids. They're 16 and 17 instead of 12 and 13. That's a lot faster, but just building a relationship with the high school staff and showing face and letting them know that you're about the kids first, and self is down the line, but making sure you put the kids first with all the decisions that you make, and just showing your face.
Excellent. Wise words, Coach. Well, thank you for listening to the Off-Season 365 podcast. I'm Coach Simmons here with Coach Bryant, and we signing off. Today's episode is sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and NC Football Connections.